trying to in two different domains. Can they unmute themselves if they want to ask a question? Is that the settings set that they can do that?
Yeah, they can do it themselves. They would just
Okay, great. Okay, so so we can start first of all with just a bit of a feedback from the practice and your discussions, and if there's any questions or comments or anything anybody wants to share. So I think if you want to unmute yourselves online, you can do that as well. You might just have to shout out so that I notice you. But I don't know, how did everyone get on with that practice? Is it similar to how you lead the practice?
Yeah, yes, it is. Yeah, but we don't guide it. We introduce it and then we do it.
Okay.
This was quite helpful.
How did you find it? How did it go for you?
It started off on very lovely, and I think it's very easy to do it for somebody you love, and also a neutral person. When you get somebody have a difficult relationship, but when you do that, you find that you have a better feeling towards them, and I think when you meet them in the future, I think you do find that your relationship improves, and it's sometimes just subtle body language cues we give one another, and you can always tell when somebody really dislikes you.
Yeah.
And I think they can with us as well.
Yeah.
And then, but all these things are temporary. So one day it's enemy can become your best friend and so forth. I think it's very powerful.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it really helps in terms of relationships in that way. And sometimes people, often ask if the Tonglen, does it have a magic effect? Am I really breathing in their suffering? Am I really offering them out? But actually, it's not. It's more like, as you say, actually what it does is it changes our mind.
Yeah.
So then when we come into contact with those people,
Yeah.
it offers them a lot more space already. So they've already got a nicer place to be able to land, somewhere they can relate to on a much more even footing, less aggression.
It's really lovely, really.
Yeah.
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 And the space that you mentioned, it is an opening up, it's a softening of the heart.
Yes.
Isn't it? So that you can give a mental hug to people you find disagreeable or
Yeah. Yeah. Anyone else have any comments or experience from that?
I was saying to Rachel that somebody that William helps me support at the time. Sometimes I was like really challenging conversations.
Yeah.
Just because of their situation and the history. You have conversations and you tempted to get really angry. And probably sometimes I am. But I think using the practice, you have a conscious awareness of the situation, and then you just try to, or I try to sort of put yourself in their position and try and understand it from their point of view, and just be a little bit more
tolerant.
yeah, kind of
tolerant. Yes. I lose patience.
yeah.
I don't tell them, but I feel that. Wish I didn't.
Yeah, so sometimes you feel really guilty, but it's a bit like bringing up children,
Yeah.
And following up from what you taught on your previous visit on fearlessness, when you connect, when you see that, you said anger or patience, you say, but you can feel feeling myself lose my passions. So yeah, there is this anger, yes, simmering, yes, I don't show it. No, but I regret it. But experiencing that negativity, just observing it, just it does dissipate, it does ease into it.
Yeah, and this is the real alchemy of this
Yes,
practice.
I think it's very
And,
yes.
You know, I wanted to start to touch into the Tonglen last time when I was here, but I just ran out of time. So that's why I thought I'd bring it up more, because actually it does need a lot of space, this practice. But there is a real alchemy, and this why I said this has been the most transformative practice I've ever engaged with. And this alchemy that happens is, first of all, you experience that bravery or that fearlessness to really be willing to be present with the emotion itself. And then when you're really feeling that emotion, you begin to notice the dissipation comes from the recognition that there's nothing actually there. So this ties in a lot to actually the Dzogchen view, you know, that this is also within the Tonglen practice. The pointing out instructions are also right there. It's like, well, where is this emotion? Where is it happening? You know, can you find it? Can you actually, where is it as an experience? And when you look directly at it, there's nothing to be found at all. And then this is the alchemy that happens. And when you look directly at it in that way and it evaporates in that way, it's like, well, that's the spaciousness, that's the openness. This is the transformation that happens in the heart center. You know, this is the alchemy of the difficulty or the poison or the suffering that we have into openness, into freshness, into spaciousness, into enlightenment, actually. You know, you start to actually see that suffering or samsara is actually enlightenment. It is nirvana, because there's nothing there in the first place. It's just our view, the view that we hold that allows it to be very tight. So this happens in the heart, and this happens directly when we allow ourselves to penetrate the emotion deeply, to go directly into it. Does this make some sense?
It does, yeah.
Rather than avoid it.
Yeah.
Rather than avoid it.
Yeah.
So it's very powerful, this Tonglen. It seems not much, or it seems like, oh, what's that going to do? You know, but actually it really starts to unfold in quite a profound way. Any other comments or questions about it? Anything from the people online? Any questions you have? Any comments? How was it for you, the practice?
I do a practice that's come through the lineage of Control Rinpoche. And rather than take the black smoke internally, we do a guru yoga practice first of all, which then protects us from that black smoke, so it just dissipates as soon as it hits us. So you draw it towards us and the black smoke just disappears. And some people find that better because they're frightened of the black smoke coming in and staying and changing them. And for some people that's a useful way of doing it.
Yeah.
Whereas taking it right in can be quite scary for some people.
Yeah, I think it can. And I have this argument quite a lot with people, actually, because they come and they go, well, I can't do this practice, it's far too scary. But actually we can start, we can start, as you say, you can notice, I think the flash of openness is a similar experience to Guru Yoga, or that one that Guru Yoga gives, because the fruition of Guru Yoga is that you experience that openness. You know, you experience directly the open heart of the Guru. So this flash of openness that we start with at the beginning directly connects that with us. But also, it's good that we're afraid of this practice, because this isn't a practice of joy. It's not a practice of trying to escape. It's actually a practice of going directly into that which we find scary, directly into that fear itself. So this practice should be challenging. If this practice becomes too mild, it loses its alchemy. The whole point is that we always want to push away that which is difficult. And so if we're struggling with the practice, that's a good thing. It should be a struggle. It should be something that is felt or experienced as difficult. This is the point of the practice in the first place. I think it's all, I gave this quite detailed context of where this practice is situated, because it's good to place it in context in terms of, well, where do I practice this? And this isn't a beginner's practice. First we need to practice mindfulness. First we need to practice some loving compassion, loving kindness, and the basic compassion practices before attempting Tonglen practice. But if we water down Tonglen too much, it loses its punch. It loses what the cutting quality that it has, which is to directly confront the notion of suffering itself, which is our want to push away that which is difficult and draw in that which is pleasant. Does this make some sense, what I'm saying? Yeah. So I think where Tonglen becomes really useful, where I've directly experienced the benefits of Tonglen, is yes, the formal practice is helpful and good to do, because the formal practice, well, two things really. The formal practice, like we've just done, it allows us to have space outside of the situation so that we can bring something that is difficult onto the cushion. Often when we're in a situation, it's so difficult or there's not much space there at all. One, we don't even remember to practice. Two, if we do remember to practice, it's really, too difficult to do so. Then we can bring the practice to the situation on the cushion. So we take it out of the live situation and artificially recreate it on the cushion, and this allows it to be less intense as a way of practice. But secondly, we also practice on as a formal practice, so that when we're in situation, it dawns on us that this is a tool that we've got, something that we can use right there on the spot. And I think that when we get more and more used to using it on the spot, this is where the real alchemy begins to take place. This is where it really becomes useful and beneficial as a practice, not just for ourselves, but also for those that we begin to be in contact with. So I use this, you mentioned like having children, I use this a lot with my own children. When you're a parent, you meet with a lot of frustration. Children can be very frustrating, even more so when they're teenagers, and you come down, the kitchen is all tidy before you go to bed. You come down and there's pots and pans everywhere because they've got up and made themselves a midnight snack or whatever it is. These are the points that we can begin to use this, rather than, exploding, which might be our natural tendency or to want to do that. It allows us a little space. First of all, we can touch in or connect to, well, how is it that I'm feeling right now? Can I breathe that in? And we start with self. So the one of the slogans was start the process of sending and taking with oneself. So, we start to breathe in that which we're experiencing. Frustration, my teenagers have made a mess. Once again, why can't they listen to me? All this stuff that happened, that frustration, we begin to breathe that in. We take that into ourselves and we offer out freedom just in general. And then the real alchemy starts to happen is when we start to notice other people. So it's not just me that's suffering here, but there's millions of parents all up and down the country, around the world, that are experiencing difficult teenagers. So can I connect to them? So already this starts to undermine our concept that it's just me. When we're suffering, we really begin to feel that it's just me. It's only happening to me, although we logically know it's not. It feels like it's only happening to me. So this starts to open us out. It quite literally begins to open the heart out. We begin to remember, I'm not alone here. There are other people that suffer this terrible thing with teenagers leaving mess every night, you know, whatever it is, we start to breathe it. So then we can start, as well as taking in our own frustration, we take in that of all other parents up and down the country. We breathe that in. We offer them out freedom, spaciousness. Can they have tidy teenagers? Please let them have that. And it's good to relate it directly to the situation that we're in, rather than it being some make-believe situation, you know, really directly connect it to the experience that we ourselves are having, you know, breathe that out. And then eventually, as you're starting to go through this process, you can start to recognize that, okay, so it's not just me and the other parents. Actually, teenagers, they rarely can see the mess, to be honest. They're so focused on their phones, they're not even noticing the mess they're leaving behind. So noticing that they're suffering, their difficulty, can we breathe that into? So our teenagers then become the enemy, you know, they are the ones that we're finding difficult in that moment. We breathe that in, you know, and then we can breathe out for them too. So begins to open up like that when we practice on the spot. And I find this really helpful in terms of learning to practice. I also did this practice a lot with my mother. I had a very difficult mother. She was always shouting and disagreeing with everything that I did. So I used this practice a lot with her. You know, could I just feel when she was disagreeing with something that I'd done? You know, could I just feel her anger? Could I allow myself to feel the difficulty of that, the tension of that? Pema is also really useful. I'm not going to read anything out of this book, but I did bring it because it's a really good one to read, and it's got a really detailed explanation of Tonglen in there. I mean, she explains it in a lot of books, but this one's quite good. This is Start Where You Are. I don't know if you can see that one in there. Start Where You Are, from Pema. She explains this practice a lot, and especially on the spot, you know, how we can work with this in the moment. And then this other book, which I will read something from because it's really helpful in terms of the way that Ken MacLeod offers this practice out. You know, he makes it really relatable for our everyday life. It begins to help how we can open out. So this is a commentary on the 37 practices of the Bodhisattva. Again, it's just another formation of the Lojong teachings in a different version with more verses. These verses are starting to touch into, actually they're also formulated the same way in Langri Tangpa's 8 verses of happiness. So the verse itself, so I'll read the verse that is the version from the text, and then you've got the commentary by Ken MacLeod. So the verse is, even if someone driven by desperate want steals or makes someone else steal everything you own, dedicate to him your body, your wealth, and all the good you have ever done or will do. This is the practice of the Bodhisattva. So that's the original text. And then Ken MacLeod's commentary. He says, this is the first of 6 verses in which Tokme Zongpo describes how to practice in the face of injury, insult, or the incomprehensible situations that commonly provoke anger and rage. In all these situations, use your anger as the basis for taking and sending practice. You arrive home and step out of your car. Something does not feel right. Your front door is open. Cautiously, you go in. The living room is a mess. Your computer and television gone. You go to your bedroom. It has been ripped apart. Drawers pulled open and clothes everywhere. The safe where you keep your valuables is gone, and so is your jewelry. You have been robbed. You don't feel safe anymore. Your home, your own home feels like a strange and hostile environment. You do not know what to do or who to trust. And you are angry at the thief who broke into your home, angry at yourself for not taking more precautions, angry at the world in which people steal. You want the thief to be caught and punished. You want him to know how it feels to be robbed. You want him to know what it is like to be frightened and scared. You change the locks and install security system. You have an expert find the weak points in your home and fix them. You know you have made it much harder for another thief to break in, and yet you cannot sleep at night. You are still angry, outraged, and resentful. You feel you have lost something else, a sense of security, and you don't know how to get it back. Culture and society seduce you into a misleading way of thinking that cars, furniture, clothes, and money that you own are actually yours. The robbery shattered that illusion. It is painful learning, no doubt, but the theft has opened your eyes, and you see now that what you own is not actually yours. You have the use of your possessions, but they can be taken from you at any time. What to do? You cannot just continue to be consumed by anger and outrage and continue to lose sleep. Or you can use this theft to cultivate compassion, dismantle the spell of ownership, and wake up a little. Begin with your pain and upset. You have been violated, physically and emotionally. That is a fact. You cannot pass over it. Open to the pain in your body and your heart. Explore how much you can experience before you tip over the edge and are lost in feelings of anger, fear, and violation. It is not helpful to let those feelings take over completely. Go to the edge of what you can experience and not be consumed, and rest right there. Then turn attention to the person who robbed you. Touch how needy, desperate, angry, or cold you would have to be in order to steal from someone else, by force or by cunning. Then mentally give to the other everything he or she needs to be free and at peace. Do this over and over again, touching and taking, and in that person's need, anger and hardness, touching and sending your good fortune and your care and regard for others. What happens? You sense in your body what it is like to be desperate, so cold, so ruthless. Taking those feelings in may be uncomfortable, but do it anyway. You may not want to send your wealth and good fortune either. It is yours after all. Send it anyway. This is not a feel-good practice. Don't try to make it one. Just do it. Then something shifts. Your experience of pain changes from being a threat to being a sensation. You do not make this change happen. It is not a decision on your part. It happens on its own. Something shifts inside you, and you experience your pain differently. You can now, in a different way, take in the pain of the thief who robbed you. It may be intense and unpleasant, but you can take it in. You can take in the pain of others who have been robbed and the pain of all those who rob and steal. You understand how destructive and soul-destroying pain is, and you want everyone to be free of it. You can also send out your wealth, enjoyment, and appreciation to life freely to others. You can send your own generosity and openness, your respect for others, and the joy of sharing, giving. You send all these with a free and open heart to both those who have been robbed and those who rob. Prejudice and judgment drop away, and an unexpected joy opens up. If you practice this long enough, you begin to see that it's all a dream. You see the stories you use to give your life structure. This is mine, that is yours, yours, mine, mine, yours. Seduce you into an illusion, the illusion of ownership. Nothing you own is truly yours. Your car is not yours. You just have use of it for as long as you make the payments. If it is stolen, it is not yours anymore. Your home is not yours. You pay a mortgage that gives you the use of your home. The books in your home are not yours. If there is a flood, a fire, or another theft, You no longer have use of them either. Even the money in your bank account is not yours. You have use of it. It can be taken from you by identity theft, bank errors, con artists, market fluctuations, or inflation. All that you have is what you experience right now. That and only that is yours. Everything else is an idea, a story, an interpretation, a dream. As you wake up to the understanding that all these notions about life are nothing but mist and smoke, you feel both tremendous loss and a great relief. You also feel an infinite compassion for all those who are caught in the dream and cannot see beyond it. So I really like this commentary. It's very hard hitting, but I really like it because it's so real, you know, and it really exposes the power of this practice. Are there any questions or anything or any comments on that passage?
Yeah, please. I have two thoughts about this. Sometimes you get people who get involved in a call and they sell a house and they give it to the court, who then has to use it for their variable purposes. So I think if you give things away, unless it's done with some wisdom, I think although it sounds like a really saintly thing to do, it may not be. And the other thing is, if your house was burgled, etc., is this a recommendation to defund the police? Because it appears to me that, you know, without the police, without some sort of sanction, we'd live in total anarchy. So I can see why, in a metaphysical sense, doing that meditation would help you to cope with your loss.
Yes.
But from a practical point of view, you know, we don't have to be doormats.
Yes, right.
You see, I'm not saying that in principle he's wrong, but I do know people who have sold their house and given it to the court.
Yeah.
And they really regret it.
Yes. Yes. And I think that this is often a good question that comes up from a lot of people. And it's also a mistake to believe that this is about action. You know, this isn't about actions that we take, but it's more about the transformation that happens in the mind. Tonglen is a visualization practice. It's a feelization practice. It's a practice that we do with our mind. It's not a practice that we do with our physical body as such. And it may change what we then do with our physical body, what action we decide to take. But it's not about action directly. It's more about dispelling the myth that is in our mind. So although I might be able to see that I don't own my house, nevertheless, I still need to go and live somewhere. I still need a roof over my head.
You do.
So I still have to have that building in terms of being able to live there. But doing this practice, what it does do is that if that house was to be taken away from me for whatever reason, it caught fire, it was, I don't know, whatever. For some reason, it was gone. What it means is that it's not such a shock to the system. Because there wasn't the belief that I owned it in the first place. So it loosens our mind more than it does our physical. And this is what all the Dharma is actually doing. It's about loosening our mind, not necessarily about what we do with our actions. Although it may have an impact on how we then act. Does this make sense?
It does. So in actual fact, if you put somebody living in your house, you can make a citizen's arrest. I have made one, by the way. I have made a citizen's arrest.
Okay. But
the youth I arrested, he was so pathetic, I couldn't hurt him. My wife, that's the village policeman, and the village policeman said, next time you catch somebody like that, give them a good hiding. It took me any much. Joe will remember this. but it was so pathetic. I couldn't.
Mhm.
And I also think about, this emotion of anger. It's a horrible feeling,
It's a whole thing.
and I hate confrontation.
Mhm.
But then sometimes there's certain things that you do need to confront, aren't there?
Yes.
For perhaps just for safety or
Yes.
whatever.
Yes.
So I think somebody said that anger's to do with your ego, but the so-called wrathfulness,
Yes.
where you don't actually feel the anger, but you know you've got to react with that sort of energy.
Yes.
Because the alternative is somebody's going to be killed in an accident or
Yes.
whatever.
And so the emotion of anger is not the problem here.
No.
The delusion is the problem.
Yeah.
The delusion that what we're angry at
Mm.
is real.
Yeah.
So anger is not the problem. And actually anger can be really helpful.
It can.
If we can cut through the delusion of the anger.
Mm.
And then it turns into wrathfulness.
Yeah.
So this is the difference. And the wrathfulness is without ego, without self-interest, you could say.
Yeah.
And this is the delusion that we're cutting through. And this is the delusion that Tonglen cuts through.
Yeah.
It's the delusion of that this is about me.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's that self-centeredness, that self-grasping that it cuts through.
Yeah.
And when we cut through that, then we can see this wider perspective, a greater view.
Yeah.
And then you can see, well, what action is necessary to take here.
Yeah.
With a wider perspective. And then that is compassionate action.
Yeah.
So anger's not the problem.
Yeah. No, that's right.
Does this make sense?
It does make sense, yeah.
Yeah, so this is how the emotion itself transforms.
Yeah, yeah.
So all of the emotions, they have both this wisdom aspect of the emotion and a deluded aspect or a neurotic aspect of the emotion.
Yeah.
And so in anger, for instance, the deluded aspect here is that it separates them and me. There's a me here who's angry with that person there and they're to blame. This is the deluded aspect.
Yeah.
But the wisdom aspect of anger is clarity. And that's the ability that anger can actually connect us to the wider situation. And if you go, and it's like this verse is saying, or this commentary is saying, if you deeply penetrate your anger, the anger connects you to the delusion that I ever owned anything or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And then it becomes clarity.
Yeah.
It shows us, the anger shows us where our delusion is, and this is clarity, this is insight.
Yeah.
Does this make sense?
It does. Yeah. Yeah. But we're only stewards, really, of this.
Sorry?
We're only stewards of this world.
We're always only students, yeah.
Yeah. We should aim to hand it on better than the way we received it if we can.
Yeah. Yeah. We can only do it through practice,
Yeah.
Like, got to really practice this stuff. It's got to come alive in you.
Yeah.
It's not something that's, I guess you can regurgitate in some sense. It's got to be an aliveness. And this is the real teacher, the aliveness, the time that I can sit in front of the person who is doing me wrong and not have that reaction.
Yeah.
That teaches, that informs, that's embodiment of the practice.
Yeah.
It's not someone sitting up here going blah blah blah, this is how you should do it.
It makes it mean that you need to face up to them.
Yeah.
Because they're damaging themselves as well.
I think that's kind of knock-on effect, isn't it? That was secondary effect that hopefully somebody receiving our compassion or whatever,
Yes.
they can pay it forward in their world. They're being forgiven for some misdeed or perceived misdeed. But then when they come into conflict,
Yeah,
Maybe they would take the same view and then
Right, exactly.
spreads out. And
yeah.
world's
My-
a better place.
Yeah, in the case of my youngest grandson, he studied criminology and psychology at Plymouth University.
Uh-huh.
So the question is criminality, is it nature or nurture?
Yeah,
You know, I mean, from a Buddhist point of view, everything comes from karma, doesn't it?
yeah,
And so, then do we have free will? Questions
Yeah.
like this, well, I don't think we do really, do we?
well, I think we have free will in this moment.
That's
Right now,
Yeah,
we have free will.
and that's all.
That's
yeah.
all.
So if you're born into a criminal family, you don't stand much chance. And so when the police headquarters at Butterall,
Mhm.
they had a black museum, and their photographs. It's called Our Times, the Victorian prisoners. You know, in photography
Mhm.
first came out.
Yeah.
And all these prisoners, they seem to have a look about them, and a lot of police officers think it's more genetic, but I think it's both.
Yeah, I think it's both. I think it's conditioning. I did a lot of teaching in prison in Wellingborough,
Oh yeah,
in the
yeah.
Wellingborough prison, and yeah, there's certainly the culture adds to their
There's a
problems.
criminal culture,
There is
and I think as a young man,
constantly informing them.
yeah, you know what you said about autism, about the diagnosis in young men. That most young men do minor criminality,
Mhm.
and so I grew up in quite a rough environment. I've very good parents, but we would go into the village shop, and one of them was this with two elderly ladies who had whose fiance had died in the First World War, and one of us would be strapped on, and the other one would shoplift cigarettes. And I went in this. I was going to their training course. I was in my RF uniform, and they said to me, "Jeffrey, you won't believe it. We've called your friends shoplifting. We know you wouldn't do it, but I am." And I felt terrible. It stopped me.
Yeah.
It's the nice old ladies.
I think this in itself is really telling, and that's what I've witnessed a lot in prison with working with these guys. Is actually they felt bad as the people, they had an identity of bad people, and so they had to then live up to that identity of being a bad person.
Yes, right.
Yeah.
Got less than 1 minute, I think, Denise.
Yeah, sorry. Did you have a question or? No? Okay. Right. I don't know if you just quickly want to do the dedication of merit before we finish, and then yeah, we can carry on the discussion afterwards if we need to.
Do you want me to do it or, okay,
Please do.
so. Whatever benefits it has arisen from this practice may be of use to all sentient beings, especially those who are suffering in the physical and by the power of universal truth rather than